Hey folks, Chuck here. You know, just when I was in the middle of losing my sight of the importance of YouTube, someone has to come along and make a profoundly beautiful video. My dad taught me many things as I was growing up. He taught me tolerance. He had more tolerance than I have. I have to actually call on what he taught me to this day about tolerating people that bother me. He had a tolerance of all people. He thought the best of people right from the beginning. He taught me in a very strong way the love of family. And he did this without his own father. He lost his father when he was 4 years old during the influenza epidemic of 1918. So he never had a father, and yet he's taught me how to be a father. He's taught me how to be, hopefully, a good father, because he was a great father. He never let me ever think that I was not loved, that my brother and sisters were not loved. He taught me the importance of friendship through his interaction with his friends. He had a lot of friends that he would do anything for, and they would do anything for him. He was a great guy. He was just a great guy. He taught me how to treat women through his actions and how he treated my mother, how he loved my mother, and how he respected my mother and pointed out her qualities. He was a hard-working guy. He showed me the importance of working hard, yet my father never fit into the regular work world. He had a very hard time in his life to do with work. He never wanted to work for other people and always tried to follow that dream. So we never had always a lot of money. Sometimes times were really good. You know, I was growing up during the 50s and 60s, so it was the post-war American dream, and he was compelled to perpetuate that dream, yet he had a hard time fulfilling it. And yet we had a happy family. We found the importance of what money meant through him, and he always said, you know, you always have to put your best foot forward. If you always look at what's negative happening in your life, you don't bother to sit down and look at what's good that's happening. And there's a hell of a lot more good happening than the negative stuff. Money is only worth so much. Love and friendship is really where it's at. And he instilled that in me. And I thank him to this day for it. He loved spending time with us when he wasn't working, and yeah, he was a beach goer. I mean, we would go to the beach every Saturday and Sunday when the weather permitted up in Boston, to Nahant Beach, and he was like, oh, forget the cooler, grab your towel, let's get going. And we'd be at the beach at 8 in the morning, we'd come home at 6 at night toasted and have a great time. And because we didn't have much money, we'd you know, would be hopefully get a birch beer and maybe some fries during the day, but it was great. It taught me, yeah, you know, sometimes you got to be prepared, but sometimes you just got to go for things. And man, that was one of them. That's how my dad was. But the biggest thing he taught me, shortly after his death, I was 20 years old at the time, I was looking, actually for one of the first times, through his war chest. Soldiers after World War II brought home a chest with their uniform and letters and, you know. And I found two medals. One was a Purple Heart and one was a Medal of Honor. Now, you know, during my youth, I asked my father many times about World War II, and he basically refused to talk about it, and instead said, you know, war is an ugly business, and he would prefer not to talk about it. And then I would press him up a few months later and whatever, but he never told me about what happened during the war. So I found these two medals, and I asked my mom about it, and she said, you know, your dad never really wanted to tell me exactly what happened. So I searched down one of his friends, actually his closest lifelong friend, and asked him about it. And he said, you know, your dad was an incredibly humble man, and asked me not to tell anyone about what happened while he was in Europe. And I kept pressing him and pressing him and pressing him until he said, okay, you know, I'm going to tell you. Maybe Big Bob would want you to know now. My father was just below the age when the call came out for World War II. And so he went to Canada and tried to join the Canadian Air Force, Royal Air Force or whatever it's called, and was refused because of his eyesight. And so he immediately came back to Boston and joined and lied about his age. And he was one of the first soldiers in Europe coming over from England onto the beaches. He was a lieutenant at the time, and he commanded 4 or 5 Sherman tanks, each with a crew of 2. And during his first year there, he served 2 years over in Europe. Apparently they found themselves in a hopeless situation where death was basically inevitable. And I found out that, excuse me, I found out that my father put himself alone in harm's way to save his comrades. To the point where he earned his Medal of Honor. Oh, sorry, guys. So he taught me how to be humble. And he taught me what real bravery is. And there's not a day that goes by I don't think about him. This is Chuck signing off.